in case you still find that limits is rather confusing, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do my one-page summary of limits. In fact, it's not really a summary, it's just a flowchart, okay? So I like it that whatever I write here is just sufficient for you to do whatever limits question you have in this particular module. Let's start from the very beginning. The very first thing you need to ask whenever you receive a limits question is, does the question have an infinity inside it? Okay. Now the simpler questions usually have no infinity. You just substitute x tend towards something. For example, limit x tends towards 3. There's no infinity here. Now if the answer was yes, what you have is limit x tends towards infinity, for example. Okay, but let's not go there yet. Let's just do the simple one first. So is there an infinity? If the answer is no, there's no infinity, then what you will have is just do the substitution. Okay, just substitute the value of x inside the equation and ask yourself, do you get a nice number? Now the question is, what do you define by nice? Let me put it the other way. What do you define as not nice? Okay, a nice number would help you solve the question. Okay, for example, when limit x tends towards 3 and then you have for example 3x, then you solve this, the answer is 9. 9 is a nice number. Okay, so what in the world is an ugly number then? An ugly number is what I mentioned earlier. If you get 0 over 0, that's ugly. If you get infinity over, well, you can't get infinity over infinity, but if you do, that's ugly too. So if you get 0 over 0, that's probably a bad idea. Okay, so the answer is, if you get a nice number, this will be no, this is ugly. So if you get 0 over 0, there must be a step that you didn't do. That step that you didn't do is probably factorize. Okay, you need to factorize out, then you need to do cancellation. There must be something that you can cancel, and after cancelling, put it back into substitution, you should be able to get a nice number. Okay, so there really is no other way to it. It's really quite easy. You do the initial substitution, you get a nice number, done. Don't get a nice number, you got 0 over 0, you must go and factorize, cancel out something, substitute again, you should get a nice number. That's it, done. The only other option left is, what if the question started with an infinity? Then what do you do? Well, ironically, if you start with an infinity, then the answer is quite easy to do. All you gotta do is divide by the highest power of x. Okay, divide by highest power of x. And if you remember, after you divide by highest power of x, anything that is over x, so for example something a over x, becomes 0. Everything else that's left over gives you your answer, which typically is a nice number. Okay, now this is of course just a very simplified and very crude way of summarizing the entire limits chapter, but honestly, any question in EG2 regarding limits you put inside this flowchart, you should be able to solve. Okay, it's really quite simple.